Welcome to the Be Magnetic podcast. I'm your host Tara, an energetic strategist, psychic medium, and your guide to a life and business that feels like a full body fuck yes. If you're ready to move beyond success and step into true peace, pleasure, and prosperity, this podcast is for you. I'm here to help you reconnect with your divine feminine energy and elevate your life, business, and finances with ease and confidence. Get ready for unfiltered stories, mindset shifts, and real strategies that will help you to live, love, and lead with your heart. Together, we'll unlock your highest self, access your deepest wisdom, and heal your energetic blocks. So take a moment to settle in, feel the energy shift, and let's dive into the magic that awaits. Welcome back to the pod. I'm excited that you're here, and I'm excited to talk about how to stop making just enough money to pay your bills today. This episode has also been inspired by one of the coaching calls I had recently with one of my clients, and this has actually been a big topic for a lot of my clients and something that I've been coaching on for years now, where I always over and over again see women underprice themselves, and although they do sign quite a lot of clients, they don't make enough money to actually feel like they're overflowing. So they do make enough money to pay their bills, but they're still constantly in this hustle to have to make money the next month, or have to plan the next launch just after the launch they just had ended, because they just got enough so that they are taken care of for now, but there is no long-term abundance that's being created. And this is something that I personally am very passionate about and have spent a lot of my personal time and my professional time as well into educating myself and working on for myself as well. And then I've started coaching or integrating that into my work a few years ago as well. So I'm excited to talk a bit more about how we can actually stop making just enough to pay our bills and get out of this constant cycle of I have to launch again, I have to sell again, I have to make money again because what I just made was just enough. But we want to actually get to a place where it is more than enough, so that we can actually also lean back for a moment and spend time on other things, or just take a break, or go on vacation, or lean back without worrying where the next money is going to come in. And the first point that I want to touch on, which is probably the biggest reason why people, especially women, are getting into this situation where they do actually sign quite a lot of clients and their schedules are full and they're booked out, but they just make enough money and not more than enough, is because they're pricing too low. And pricing too low is actually contributing to scarcity mindset, because what happens is when you do price too low, and then let's say, for example, you have time in your schedule and feel maxed out at a capacity of 10 clients a week, and then you charge each of those clients 100 euros per session, then you're gonna make 1,000 euros per week, which might just be enough to pay your bills in a month, depending on, what you have to pay for it. Some others, it might be a lot, but I've had a lot of clients who do have 4-5k living cost, and so they charge at $20, $50, $100 an hour or a session, and it's just enough. And so they constantly have to look at, okay, how do I make money next month? How do I make money next month? And so we really need to find a way to price our services at a place where we are taken care of long term. And there's different ways in which we can do that. Yes, we can rise the prices per se, which depending on the price that you're at, there's not a general answer that I can give on that when it makes sense to increase your prices. I do feel like if you do feel deprived, if you feel like you're giving more than you're getting, you should definitely be rising your prices. I also feel like if you're charging anything under $100 per session, you should definitely rise your prices. If your clients are telling you you could charge way more, should definitely rise your prices. If you've been doing this for a while and you could probably charge more, you should be definitely rising your prices. So there's indications of when it makes sense to raise your prices. But then also there is like strategic ideas, right? Like pushing towards payment plans that will increase this enoughness around money and actually help you to build that abundance that will serve you long term. And then there's also just stacking launches intelligently. So I want to stay with the pricing though for a moment, because I know that a lot of people are, and maybe you included as well, are worried about raising their prices because they have this fear of scaring off their audience, and they're afraid that if they're scaling their prices, if they're maybe doubling them or tripling them, their audience is going to be scared away. And I want to offer a perspective shift on this, because if you, for example, like let's say I've had a conversation with a client as well, and she had signed like 20 clients in a month, and she already said, okay, this is my maximum capacity of what I can hold. And she knew that there were actually people who she did say no to, but she felt kind of guilty and she wanted to find a way to work with them as well. So if you do have a lot of clients and a lot of interested people, so that you're at a place where you actually have to potentially decline people, that is such a powerful place to be in, because that really allows you to scale your prices, because it is okay when people fall away. And I think the biggest fear that we have is that when we raise the price and no one is going to buy anymore, but you already have so many people lined up to want to work with you. So yes, of course, there might fall away like a couple because they can't afford the new price anymore, or they say it's not worth it, but that doesn't hurt, because you already have such an overflow of people who potentially want to work with you, so that you can actually select those few that are willing to pay the price that you want to charge. So for one, of course, we want to make sure that we are not raising the prices so high that we are left without any people who want to pay that. But the fact that you're worrying about this already tells me that you won't raise your prices so much. You can also ask your current clients what the maximum amount is that they would pay for the service. You could also, just as you're increasing your prices and having these sales conversations, just ask people what their budget is. And I actually did this, I don't know if I'm still doing it anyway, but I did this in the beginning also, where I had everyone who booked a sales call with me sign fill out a form, and there was like a box as well where I asked them, how much are you willing to pay for working together? And then there were different sections, and that also kind of gave me an idea of where people were at with their budget. And I think that you can always push them slightly above what they did, maybe a couple hundred, because people are usually trying to pay the least for what they're getting, not because they don't want to pay it, but because it's just how we naturally work. We want to maximize our monies, but then we can maybe push them a couple hundred if we want to. If it doesn't feel aligned, then don't do it, of course, but that kind of gives you already a good indication of where your audience is at when it comes to budget. But then also it's important to consider your ideal client and who you're working with, right? And if you do want to elevate your business, maybe it's time to elevate the person that you're serving to as well. And it doesn't mean that you can't serve people with a lower budget also, but maybe in a different offer, right? When it comes to scaling and raising your prices, ultimately we need to be differentiating our offers as well. So maybe it's wise to create an offer that is a bit more high ticket and high level, where they get more personal support that you can then price higher, and everyone who can afford that, you can push towards an offer that requires less of your time, less of your energy, and has a lower price therefore, right? So there's different tiers that we can do. But ultimately, as a business owner, you have to push people towards, or like, I don't really like the word push, like magnetize people into the core offering, which is your high ticket offering, right? So you want to actually have this high ticket offering where you know, okay, if I sell that out at my capacity, I am more than taken care of, and you got to do the numbers on this yourself. And then you have to magnetize people into that, and everyone who doesn't want to or isn't a fit for that, you can magnetize into different offers. But that's your core offering that you're going to showcase everywhere, basically. I also want to slightly tap on the three key elements of building financial overflow, because I do feel like so little people actually understand what it actually takes. And I think it's so important, because with that knowledge, we can then make decisions in our business that allow us to actually build that overflow that we're desiring. So the three key elements, first of all, is receiving. So yes, we have to open up the channel of receiving money, but I do have a feeling that a lot of you are already very good at that. So if you do have a lot of clients, if you do have successful launches already, you're pretty good at receiving. So that is already working, but that's the first key element where we have to get good at receiving clients, receiving money. The second one is holding money. So we have to get good at actually holding it and to not just push it out again. And that's something that I see in a lot of my clients also, where they're just pushing out the money again. Like, it lands, but then they're spending it on all the things that they always wanted to do, which is fair. But we also want to just hold on to a little bit of it so that we can actually feel safe, feel taken care of, and build upon that, because otherwise we're constantly chasing for the next money and the next money and the next money, right? So the holding is the second one. And the third element is the expanding. And the expanding then again has to do with expanding your capacity to receive, but also expanding the pricing, expanding the people that you're serving, expanding your craft, just expanding yourself so that you're attracting more money. So let's look at those three slightly separated and look at what we can do to actually increase in that area so that we can make more than we need. So when it comes to receiving, the best thing you can actually do is to open yourself up to attracting the people that you're most excited to work with and that give you the best results. So it's not just about receiving anything and everything, but like receiving the people that are most aligned with you and the people that are actually willing to pay the prices that you have, right? You gotta be saying no to everyone who's second guessing or not quite sure. Those are not your people. These are not worth your energy, but you want to actually focus on the ones that are ready and that value you and that value what you have to offer. When it comes to the holding, like I said, we want to make sure that we are living the abundance. So of course enjoying it and spending it, but also keeping something for ourselves, maybe in a fund that has the sole purpose of, this is going to be my overflow money. Like, this is going to be the proof that I have more than enough, right? And what that does psychologically, it teaches you, it shows you that you have more money than you need, because it's kind of like the same psychology as like a savings account, where you know if something happened, there would be some money that you could take care of. And I always recommend to save at least 5 to 10% from what you're making to that overflow fund, to the overflow account, to just see, okay, there is more than enough. Like, I do have more than enough. And even if I would want to take time off right now, I could, because I do have like a month or 2 months or ideally 12 months of savings in there that I can use if necessary at all. And what that does also, it gives you the power to actually attract money with more ease, because you're not chasing it anymore. You know you have enough, you know you have everything you need, but there is, like, you know that you still, like, how big are the chances that you're not going to make money in 12 months? Like, very slim. But if you have 12 months of saving, like living costs saved, like, how good would that feel? That is the kind of energy that I want you to get behind when it comes to the holding. And then when it comes to the expanding, it's what we talked about with the pricing. Okay, how can you, or do you want to increase the capacity of how many clients you want to serve? If not, how do you feel about expanding the pricing, right? Because at the end of the day, we either have to increase the capacity of how much clients we're serving or the capacity of how much money we're charging per client in order to increase the income. I mean, we can invest and have passive income through stocks and stuff like that. There is that possibility, but we're talking about business here. So in that case, there is these two scenarios, and either one is fine, but you got to make a decision on what course you want to go for now. And the last kind of point I want to touch on is the holding wound. And this is something like the term a friend of mine, she came up with that term, which I really loved, and it makes so much sense to what we're going to talk about, which is basically this fear of holding on to money. And the reason why I want to dive deeper into this is because aside of the increasing the pricing, holding on to money is the second biggest reason why you're in this cycle of not or making just enough money. Because yes, the pricing, like if we increase the pricing, we do make more than enough, but if we keep spending it, then there's still not going to be more than enough money, right? Because it's going to be gone. And my brother always says that the more money you make, the bigger your lifestyle will get. And I do agree to a certain extent. Of course, the more money you make, the more things you can do, the more money you have to spend on things. And while I do believe we do deserve to improve and up-level our lifestyle as we grow and make more money, I do also think it is really important to build that independence fund. And I read this incredible book, and I forgot the title, and I don't know what the author is called either, but essentially in this book, it was around, I think it was called The Psychology of Money. Anyway, in this book, the author talked about how they live in an average house and drive an average car and go on an average vacation, and they do so for a reason. And he said that real wealth is money not spent. And he shared also the story around how he grew up in a family where his parents were both hardworking and they made good money, and they lived a good lifestyle. But then his dad got sick and he wanted to retire basically, but he couldn't because he didn't have enough money essentially to just retire at that age. He would retire earlier than usual, and so he didn't have that money. And so he, as a kid, started thinking that this is something that he wanted to do differently. And so while he and his wife could afford a bigger house, a bigger car, a fancier vacation, they consciously choose not to spend that money there, but to put it into an independence fund. And the reason he called it independence fund is because this money there, the money not spent, the wealth that he and his wife have created, is their independence. It's their ticket to freedom. That is their freedom, because that money there will, in case he wants to retire sometime early, allow him to do that. This money will allow them to take a year off of work if they wanted to. Right? This is their freedom. This independence fund, you can also call it freedom fund, but essentially the money not spent is real wealth. The money not spent is your freedom. And that is what I want you to consider when it comes on to holding money. Yes, it might feel like freedom to spend all the money right now, but in the long term, it's not freedom, because you're still in the hustling and like in the hamster wheel. That's the term I wanted to use. You're still in the hamster wheel, constantly trying to make more money and more money and more money, because you have to support your lifestyle that you've created. But if you choose to live an average lifestyle where at some point you do give yourself a gift and like treat yourself to the luxury vacation that you wanted, but not all the time. And I did talk about this on my stories a while ago as well, where I don't build lifestyles, I live in experiences. So I did have it on my bucket list to travel business class. That was a dream of mine. This was something that I wanted to experience, but it doesn't mean I make it my lifestyle. It doesn't mean that every time I will fly business class now, just because I can. I did it once and it was fine. I did experience it, and that's enough, right? I don't have to do it all the time. Like, if you dream of driving a luxury car, like, of course, like, go lease one for a week and do that. But then you've experienced it. You don't have to make it a lifestyle. What I don't want to make a lifestyle is overflow. Freedom is my lifestyle. And that fun, that money not spent, is my freedom. And that is why we have to work towards feeling safe when it comes to holding on to money. And there is weird dynamics when it comes to holding on to money, which is what we call the healing wound, the holding wound. So there might be fears of it's not safe to hold on to money because then not more is coming in, or I'm excited my capacity to hold on to money, or whatever, right? Like, whatever story you tell yourself around why it's not safe to hold on to money, that has to be healed, because holding on to money is your ticket to overflow, to freedom, to financial freedom, just as much as increasing your prices is, holding on to money is as well. So when it comes to stopping to just make enough money to pay your bills, which is essentially what I wanted to help you with this episode, there's two camps that you can fall into. Either you've already done a lot of work when it comes to rising your prices and you're making like a lot of clients and have successful launches, but you have a holding wound and you are not confident holding on to money and actually building that freedom for yourself. Or you are signing quite a lot of clients and working your ass off, but you're just charging enough to pay your bills, and then you need to be rising your prices. You need to be looking at, okay, how can you get more strategic in terms of what is coming in, right? So those are the two things that we need to be working on. Maybe you fall in the middle of both and you could benefit from rising your prices or getting more strategic in terms of defining how much is coming in and also holding on to some more. I do have a feeling that most of you do fall into both camps a little bit, or could benefit from both in a way. And these things don't have to be drastic. You don't have to increase your prices by twice the amount, and you don't have to save 50% of what you're making, right? This can be as little as possible. Like, you could just rise your prices by 5% and save 5% of what you're making, and that would already, little by little, step by step, get you into a place of true financial freedom, of real overflow, of having more than enough and making more than enough. So that is my take on this. I'd love for you to screenshot this and tag me and tell me your biggest takeaway. Would love to read them. And then also, if you do want to dive deeper into this whole financial freedom, money kind of topic, I do have plenty of episodes around this on my podcast. So there is, for example, the one that's called 3 Things I Do Every Year That Align Me with Financial Freedom, Business Growth, and Inner Peace. That is one I highly recommend when it comes to just getting more into this energy of abundance and overflow. Then it's episode 101 and called How to Build a Fuck Yes Bank Account. That is also very strategic. There's a lot of strategic pieces also when it comes to just building the financial freedom that so many of us desire. And then episode 74, 3 Financial Habits to Build Wealth and Achieve Financial Freedom. Those are all incredible episodes. There's more, but I'd highly recommend those 3 for you to dig deeper into the whole abundance, money topics, if that is something you're curious about. And then I will see you next week and in next week's episode. Thank you for tuning in. So much love. Appreciate you so much. Bye.